I have finally figured out a way to finance the destruction of Spider-Man. I shall buy 5 Galactuses, and with that, I will be richer than ever. Ha 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 ha!
Is this a good idea? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Matt, often called Big Nerdy. We are the NWO, the Nerd World Order, and this is Nerdzoic. A couple days ago, I released a video called Pay or Pass, where I talked about whether you should buy Galactus or pass on Galactus, and I talked about the fact that I am absolutely buying one for myself. But now the question is, how many do you buy? A lot of people think that they can go and buy this and then go ahead and resell it to pay for their version. And to be frank, that's how it's been for a lot of the other Haslab projects. Will that hold true? First of all, let's get this out of the way. If you buy a Galactus to resell later,
you're not a scalper.
It is literally impossible to scalp a Galactus or any Haslab project because everybody has a chance. So next year, a year from now at this time, when people are on Twitter and in my comments complaining about, oh, Galactus is like all the scalpers, man. They're not scalpers. They're just trying to make a couple extra dollars. It's reselling. It's not scalping. It's crazy to call that scalping. So if you are, stop whining.
Stop whining.
All right, so since that's out of the way, let's talk about whether you should buy a couple extra and try to flip them. We're gonna do this by talking about the case for buying a couple extra to flip and the case against buying a couple extra to flip. We'll start with the case for buying extras to flip. Historically, these Haslabs have been incredible on the secondary market and are super safe as far as flipping them. So yeah, history says it's gonna have a high ROI. Give you an idea, typically Hasbro gets about 20 to 25% margin selling their products. I know because I sell them. Now let's take a look at some of the Haslabs. The sail barge originally sold for $500. It's going for $1,550 now, which is a 68% margin. That one had a 5,000 person target and it filled at just over 5,000. So a very small supply. The Sentinel originally went for $350. It's going for about $850 now. Target was 6,000 and we had almost 22,000 of those made. That's a 59% profit margin. The Razor Crest, which sold for $350 originally, is now going for $816, which is a 57% margin, and there's a lot of them, so it's not like the market's small. Over 28,000 of those are being produced from the funding number. I think that's important to point out because the Razor Crest has the biggest supply at nearly 30,000 units. It's not an army builder, yet it's still commanding a high aftermarket price, and I think that's probably the best comparison to Galactus as far as not being an army builder and the fact that there's a lot of knowledge about it now as compared to like a couple of years ago with the sail barge. Not as many people were in on the Haslab concept. So historically, yeah, you should be able to double your money pretty easily. You might even be able to pay for your Galactus by buying an extra one to sell. So that sounds pretty good so far. It might keep your muggle wife from getting angry if you say something like, hey honey, I know I just spent $400 on this toy, but instead I bought 3, so it's $1,200. But wait, don't worry. I should be able to sell 2 of them for $700 a piece at least, meaning I'm gonna make $1,400 to sell $1,200 worth of toys, and I get to keep one. So yeah, it's a win-win for all. And you know what? With that extra $200 that we make, I'll give that to you, baby. And then the muggle wife will say something like this. That is okay. I get something out of this too, and we're not blowing our money on stupid toys? Sure, be stupid. Buy 3 Galactuses. I feel like that's a lot easier to explain than, hey honey, I'm spending $400 on a toy for my collection. Another pro is that this is not gonna fund anywhere near the Sentinel most likely, which means that the supply is gonna be lower. So that will be the lowest supplied Marvel Haslab. So that is going to play in your favor most likely. And if the demand for this increases later, such as when the new Fantastic Four movie comes out, if and when Galactus hits the MCU, because it's gonna happen eventually, forget about it. This thing's gonna go to the freaking moon. Now, the case against buying multiples. First off, if you don't have a decent amount of liquid cash, it's not a good investment. Putting out all this money for something that you're not gonna get a return on until late next year is somewhat risky because you could be using that money to make money other ways. If you have the cash though, go for it, it doesn't hurt. Or even if you have the credit, it doesn't really hurt. Another case against this is I think it's more volatile than all of the other Haslabs. Between the price, the way the economy's going, the fact that minimum tiers are going to be unlocked, and the fact that it's not an army builder. All of that plays against it to say that demand might not be that high. So I previously talked about how the supply is going to make it go to the moon, but if the supply is low and the demand is low, well, it doesn't matter. As far as stretch goals and rewards go, one way I was hoping to pay for this was with some of the pack-ins that I might not want. Just flip them and just say, yeah, I don't need them, pay for Party Galactus. Well, if we don't get many, you can't flip air. So Yeah. Now, $1,000,000 question. Am I buying more than one or am I buying one at all? Well, let's put it this way. If I buy one, I probably won't buy any others. Going into this, when I wrote out my little script that's on the screen over here, I wasn't going to buy any others, but after reading this and thinking about it more, now I'm more convinced. I'm like, you know what, maybe I should, so I might. If I can make it work financially, I will buy multiples just to try to cover the cost of the original. Now, the $1,000,000 question, am I buying one for my own collection? Well, you're going to have to check out my Pay or Pass video. It'll let you know. Remember, till next time, you have to get old, but you don't have to grow up. Just be cool and stay nerdy. Later.